This is a bubble hem skirt. Of course, you can attach it as in these photos to achieve different aesthetic effects for your dresses. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew a bubble hem skirt using one of the easiest methods, okay? Welcome to Style with Bloom. My name is Ruth Kenneth Uchuche, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how I made this bubble hem skirt for a 3-month-old child. However, you can always use this for other purposes that I put earlier. So stay tuned if you want to learn this, okay? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more like this. For this skirt, I used less than one trouser length of fabric, but it was more than 1 yard. It was about 40 inches wide, okay? Of course, you'll be using your scissors, your pins, your chalk, and then your measurements. The measurements we used for this are the length, and I worked with a length of 8 inches for the skirt. This is apart from the band, okay? And then the waist circumference was 19 inches, okay? So for this bubble skirt, you want to use a full circle. Formula for our full circle is your waist divided by 6.28, okay? So 19 divided by 6.28, which is her waist circumference, and I had 3.02, which I rounded up to 3 inches, okay? So that is the radius for this circle, okay? We're cutting a full circle to achieve our bubble skirt, okay? Now for the length we used 8 inches, okay? So to cut our bubble skirt, you need to fold your fabric into 4. Now we're working with a full circle, and for your full circle you would always fold into 4, okay? So we're going to do a little calculation here, right? So for this, I went ahead. If you're going to do your bubble skirt, you need to have fabric for minimum of times 2 of the length. So if the length of this skirt is 8 inches, we need 16 inches long of fabric, okay? Now that 16 inches plus my radius, which is 3, is 19 inches. So I ended up needing 19 inches for the length of the fabric I was going to fold. So you can see what I measured here. Now at this point the fabric was already folded into 2, okay? So I had 20 inches, so my 19 inches were there already and covered, okay? And then when I was folding from 2 to 4, I also needed to be able to measure out the same 19 inches minimum, okay? So that's why I told you that I used fabric that is 40 inches, okay? So less than a trouser length but more than a yard, okay? So at this point I was just determining the length, and then from the sharpest point of your fold, you go ahead and enter your radius. So for me, we had 3 and I entered that. So I drew a circle to connect all the points. Now from the radius, we entered the length, which is double of our original length, which is 16 inches, okay? Remember I told you that. So you can add more length to this if your skirt is going to be fuller, okay, so that it doesn't reduce your length too much. So I took that all around, as you can see me doing, and here I was just connecting the points together. So I took the 16 inches from the radius all around, okay? It's just like cutting a circle skirt, okay? So you go ahead and cut like I did here. You also go ahead and cut out your radius, okay? So one thing I want you to do is notch. You can see where I'm notching, where my fabric has folds. I went ahead to notch. I notched on the radius and I also notched on the hem, okay? So I'm using all of these terms here, but just notch on each part you see me notching. I'll show you what to do with it next, okay? So the next thing I went ahead to do was open this up and slit one side open. So because I joined my fabric to achieve the 40 inches, I just tore out the stitch. But for you, you want to go ahead, if you're not joining your fabric, and use your scissors to cut that side open. So if you're following this tutorial, you would see where you need to cut open. Just cut it. Next thing you want to do is flip this to the wrong side, let the wrong side face you, and begin to pin notch to notch. Now I want you to know something important, okay? So at the point where you slit your fabric open, you want to go ahead and flip it like you can see me doing to the other side and sew, okay, by 1/4 inch on both sides just to make it neat for the zipper. So before going to the sewing machine, I went ahead to measure out the waist of this skirt, okay, like you can see me doing. So you measure from one end to the other, okay, and whatever you get, you're going to use it to cut out your band. So after measuring this, I had about 23 inches. So we noted that and we went ahead for the cutting of the band. So I had this fabric here and I wanted my band to be 1.5 inches wide. So since I was using the same fabric for lining and main fabric, I cut everything together. So I measured 3 inches, that's 1.5 times 2, and then an extra inch. Okay, so 1.5 times 2 is 3, plus the extra inch, which is 4. Okay, which makes everything 4. So I cut out a fabric or a piece of fabric that was 4 inches wide, and then the length of this band was our 23 inches plus 1. Okay, remember the 23 inches we got from measuring our waist out. So here I was just cutting out the actual 23 inches plus 1 inch that we were going to use for the length of the band. Remember, we're going to attach this band to the skirt in a horizontal manner. Okay, so I cut this out. So the 12 inches you can see there, when you open it up, it becomes 24. Okay, remember that the waist circumference you measured from the skirt just a few minutes ago was 23. Okay, so I added 1. So I went ahead to flip this band right sides facing each other and sew on the side like you can see by 1/4 inch, just like what we did on the actual skirt. Okay, so at this point I had taken the main skirt to the sewing machine and sewn the slit up area, okay, and then I flipped this back to the wrong side to face me. Of course, we already pinned our notches, so I went ahead to identify and make sure that everything was in place. So make sure you do yours, okay? Now next thing you want to do is gather this like I gathered. So you can see me just folding all the extra fabric from the hem into the waistline, okay? So you want to go ahead and do the same thing that you can see me doing and use your pins to secure this, because you're going to take this to the sewing machine and sew it, okay? So at this point I was just using pins to secure this so that I could take it to the sewing machine and just run a straight stitch. So after securing this, I brought everything back and then I began to pin this band to the skirt. So if you're watching this, you want to just pin the band to the skirt the way I am doing it. So you open up your band. Of course, you folded half an inch under each piece of fabric, okay, for the band. So you place your skirt in and then you pin like you can see me doing. So you can start on one side, and after pinning on one side you can stretch the elastic band and also pin on the second side so that you can have this equally, okay. So if you're not able to understand what I'm saying, just watch closely and follow through with what I am doing, okay. So the moment you're done with your pinning, you want to go ahead and do a stitch that goes all the way from the front to the back, okay. Now this is going to be a single line of stitch, but you're going to be sewing from about quarter inch to the end of your band, okay. So you sew it from one side of the skirt to the other side. You also flip the skirt right sides facing each other. You can see that the wrong side doesn't have gathers on it, okay. It's only the right side that has gathers. So you flip this right sides facing each other and close up the area that you slit open your fabric, okay. So this is what I had when I was done. This is as simple as it gets, and remember that you can always put this on different parts of your outfits. Of course, if you're going to be attaching it as a dress, you don't need to add the elastic band, okay. Just attach it to your half scale block and you have a dress. So I hope that you got value from this. Do well to subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on our next tutorial. So this is for a 3-month-old, but you can also cut this for an adult, okay. So I hope you learned from this. Feel free to ask your question in the comment section. We'll be willing to answer you, okay. We are also on Facebook and Instagram and also on TikTok, and you want to make sure you are a part of our community by following us on those platforms, okay. Till the next tutorial, I remain Ruth Kenneth Ochuche. See you in the next.